All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Podcast. We are back for the 2022-23 season right here. I am Trellis Williams, and joining me right here is our co-host Ollie Hammonds, and Ollie from Laurel, Mississippi. I'm up here in Byron, Mississippi, and Ollie, man, excited about the show, man. What's happening?
Absolutely nothing. We're just getting prepared for the season. Excited that it's here. Can't believe it's here already.
Yeah, man. So this season just got started about 2 weeks ago. It started off with Scott County Flames taking on the Meridian Flyers in Forest, and the Flames they were able to get a big win in 18U, 75-47, a huge win for the Flames. They were able to get nearly a 30-point win, start off 1-0 in the conference. So starting off the season, the Meridian Flyers, they lost Isaiah Davis to graduation. Also lost Elliott Tulip. He left the team as well. What were your takeaways from that result?
Well, number one, we got a Meridian Flyers team that's definitely not the same roster from last year, right? It's not the same roster, different sort of dynamic. When you know from playing, if you lose one or two guys that were like sort of your guys, it really changes the dynamic of the team. But number two, Scott County got a taste of winning in 16U last year.
Yeah.
Right. And so winning is not a bunch of good players going to – winning is a culture. And so if you can establish that culture, you'll find it's crazy how many games you'll pull out big. And like this one, a 30-point win over the Meridian Flyers for the Scott County Flames. Right, that's a big deal. And it's because I think they established a winning culture last year.
Yeah, and so definitely Scott County able to get that big win there. Now then they turned around and went to Raymond, and they took on the Muddy River Counselors. Counselors were able to keep a lot of guys from last season. They lost Chris Purnell, King Williams, two key players that were starters for their team, but they were able to keep a lot of their guys, and they just took off. After the first quarter, they were down 15-13 at the end of the first quarter, but in the second quarter, they took off for a 28-5 second quarter and ended up winning 80-45. So Ollie, what was your takeaway from that one though? Because now Scott County 1-1 in the conference after losing that one.
Well, Muddy River is one of my picks to be in the championship game this season. It's a bunch of guys that we talk, like I said, winning culture. They've been winning for a while here, and they're a group. They gel, and they can come back from any deficit. And so that's their style of basketball, high scoring. The defense is what really surprised me, holding Scott County to just 45 points. That's a big time deal. Pull out a win like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And then going on to the next one, had the Jackson Victors Meridian Flyers, which happened at the same time as the Scott County Muddy River game. Victors beat the Flyers 53-37 in Hickory. 16-point win there for Jackson. Jackson a little low on numbers, but they've got some strong players. But they are a little bit lower on numbers this year. What were your takeaways from that game, Ollie?
Well, I feel like I say it all the time, winning culture, right? Jackson, one of the most dominant teams in MSAHA history. So every year, no matter the coach, no matter the players, you have got to put them at least as one of your favorites to go to the semifinals at the end of the season, right? They're a fantastic program, and I'm really not shocked. They're a winning team, and so good for them. Come out there, score. Low scoring game though. I will say that if I'm Jackson, I'm a little bit cautious about only scoring 53 points in a game. However, holding Scott County, who scored Meridian. 75 against, was it Meridian? It was Meridian. Sorry.
Yeah,
glitched
that's
out.
Okay.
Holding them just to 37 points. That's a big time deal to play defense well. So defense wins championships. If they can keep defense up, and you can only score 60 points a night, but you'll win every night if you have good defense, and that's what we see from that score. But to be honest with you, I don't expect them to stay there offensively. They will go up in offensive numbers. It's still early in the season.
Yeah. And so right now, I'd like to just remind y'all, go ahead and hit the subscribe button to the YouTube channel right here, TSJW Network. Got plenty of coverage of MSAHA basketball throughout the season. We got this show. It's the first episode of the second season of the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show. So be sure to subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Now, I want to take an overview here, Ali, of this whole season and this whole show. So this show, obviously, now we're doing it live now, and that's kind of been a big deal here. Have a live show. Last year we recorded it and posted it. Now we're live right here on the YouTube channel. And Ali, just with the expansion of stuff like our show here, our podcast here, and as well as just the expansion of the league, what's your feel of the direction of the MSAHA?
Well, I think the tough part about playing homeschool basketball, if you're a player who plans to go to the next level, is that you're playing homeschool basketball, right? So you're not going to get a lot of exposure to even junior college coaches. And I think that what your network is doing right now is it's making that available for people. So I think that not only this podcast, but live streaming show, the show, games, things of that nature, it exposes players who would hope to go to the next level. And then the expansion of the league, this is one of the more competitive leagues in the state. Every game is played from beginning to end. And it's a great league to play in and to watch. So it's a very good entertainment value. So I think the expansion of the league, it's amazing.
Absolutely. And so we've recapped the game so far already. So now we're looking ahead to a week coming up, a big game there. Starting off, the Meridian Flyers are heading down to Louisiana to take on the PCA Paladins. So we get the first results from the PCA Paladins. That'll be where the Paladins begin their season on Saturday, hosting the Meridian Flyers. PCA is supposed to be another good ball club. They're supposed to be coming back with some new players, of just what I hear, at least from talking to some people. Coach Erickson and Colin Erickson are not a part of the team anymore, but they've been able to add some players. They still got the Boggs. They still have Hank Peace and other guys as well. So they still, Timothy Singletary, they still have guys on that team that are ready to go. Caden Cummins, though, out for a little while. He still has that shoulder deal that he's got going on there. Now, just, Ollie, if you just talking about PCA in particular, what are you expecting there from that PCA team? I mean, of course, Meridian struggled at the beginning of the season, so I would expect PCA to be able to get that win. But what do you expect from PCA as a whole this season? Because after that, they're going to be turning around and facing the Counselors in the next weekend.
Yeah, they got to be a team. They have got to be a team. When we look at the past two seasons, right? The past two regular seasons have been dominated by PCA. PCA has been the dominant team. Past 2 years, they've come to the number one seed. If I'm correct, right?
They have been number one seed the last two seasons in 18U.
Exactly. So when you come in, but if you'll start noticing, last year Colin Erickson wasn't available in the tournament.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
PCA can't quite pull it out. We win back-to-back championships. By the way, have I mentioned that yet? We've won back-to-back championships.
Yeah, well,
2 years in a row.
Okay.
Have I mentioned that? Okay. It's not the last time.
You haven't mentioned that this season yet, but you mentioned. Yeah.
But I'm just going to check every once in a while. But and Caden Cummins, same thing. Tournament. Caden Cummins injures his shoulder. Right. I mean, he played some, but he wasn't the same. Right. So I think that's the big thing for PCA. Do I think that they can get together as a team? Absolutely. But they got to prove it. Right. And I think that's part of PCA. PCA is coming this season with a chip on their shoulders. Right. Coming into the tournament 2 years in a row as the number one seed and not winning a championship out of that. That's going to put a fire in their bellies. And I feel bad for Meridian because their PCA is angry. And it's not going to be fun to face them at all this year. So this is going to be a big season for the program, and I'm excited to see their style of play. The game that I'm really excited about though is Muddy River and PCA because that's two teams that are hungry for it this year. Two teams that are hungry for it, and two teams I could very well see being the 18U boys state championship game.
Yeah, that will be a very interesting one, especially considering the barn burner that was that 16U championship last year.
Yes.
And you're talking about the final score 63-52, which is unbelievably high scoring for a 6-minute quarter game.
Yes, it's two very, very offensively minded teams with sneaky good defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And but the thing about PCA is that, and the thing that we've seen, both of us, Ollie, that have seen over the years, is that when you have a really strong 16U team and you're able to win a championship, usually good 18U teams come forth.
Yes.
And PCA able to be, they're the defending 16U champions. Is their first time getting any boys championship in the history of PCA. So they were able to get that was a big deal. They were able to win that championship, and so now they're looking at a situation where they're trying to build on that and win this 18U. This will be their first game taking on Meridian at home, so we're going to be on the lookout for that. Then the Meridian Flyers.
Well, one second, just to talk on that point though about them winning their first boys championship, winning culture, right? To finally push it through, get it in the end zone, get that championship, and okay, this is how you win, and it's a different recipe. We see it in every sport. Let's take the MLB right now, right? The Philadelphia Phillies, they have the least amount of wins in the MLB coming in the postseason, but they have found that magic that gets you a win when the playoffs are when you're playing in the playoffs, and that's what PCI I think figured out last year, and that's why I think this is their year because they figured that out last year in the 16U. How to win. And when you look at their 16U team, it's the exact same as the 18U team. You know, they're so good that they're so good and young that they can spread basically their 18U team is their 16U team. And so I think they figured out that secret recipe to winning in the playoffs.
Yeah, so that'll be one to look out for right there, the Meridian Flyers and the PCA Paladins. So after that, the Flyers will then head to Hattiesburg and take on the Hattiesburg Forerunners. And talking to one of the Hattiesburg coaches, it sounded like they're supposed to be coming with a strong team. Bradley Kelly, who we saw 2 years ago on the Forerunners, he has returned to the team. He's probably about 6'2", good athlete, good ball player. He's back. They're supposed to bring back a lot of guys like Michael Barnes, Thomas Emmons, and then those young guys that were on their team last year. You got Jake Reeves, who's a good player as well. So I mean, these are good players here that we're dealing with here with the Hattiesburg Forerunners. So what are you expecting from the Forerunners? They're going to start off their season hosting the Flyers. What do you expect from them this year?
It's a bit funny to me that they start off with Meridian because I feel like Hattiesburg is the Meridian of last year. So remember, beginning of the season, dark horse, exactly. You can't ever take anything for granted against them, and they're going to be scrappy, but they're going to be an explosive offensive team. Explosive offensive. The one thing I'm gonna have to see them do is play good defense. But if they can play good defense, they can hold teams to an average of about 50, 55, 60 points. They will be a fantastic team. And I know that goes for everybody, but their offense is to where they're going to score 70 a night, right? If it lives up to its potential, which I think it will. So I think that they are the Meridian of last year this year. So I'm really excited to see how their season goes.
Yeah, that should be very interesting. Also, be sure to check out the website. Just say that right here. Check out the website, tsjwnetwork.net. I write articles on there. Ollie will write articles on there as well. We want people who write articles. So please, if you write articles, send an email, tsjwnetwork@gmail.com. If you're interested in writing articles covering games and things of that nature, shoot the TSJW Network an email, and we can get you in contact, get you set up for that. So anyway, so and another part about this show is that we're still developing it. We've got this first episode here, getting it out there to y'all, kind of an introductory episode here. But looking forward, we're gonna try to get some guests, and we're gonna try to talk to some coaches, maybe talk to some players and some administrators and things of that nature. So we're gonna be doing that, and so we're able to have the capabilities of doing that. So praise the Lord for that. But me and Ollie, we're the hosts, and we'll be doing our thing. So last game of the next week that in 18U that we're talking about right now, the Jackson Victors and the Scott County Flames. Now that game is probably going to be a big game, probably going to be a good game, I would expect.
Yes,
The Flames have only been a part of 2 blowouts, and it was both ways for them. They haven't been in any close games yet, but I would imagine that their game against Jackson will probably be pretty close. They're probably going to be scrapping that one out because both teams have firepower. Because even in the Counselors Flames game, Scott County was able to start off winning before the Counselors. I mean, they just shot extremely well there in the last 3 quarters, and it was just tough there for Scott County at the end. But the first quarter, the Flames they looked like a very seasoned team. And that's one thing about this Flames team. Very seasoned team. Got guys with experience, have good players, guys who have some firepower. But they're going to be taking on the Jackson Victors, who have a lot of discipline. So with Coach Crosby coaching, they play a very disciplined style of basketball. So Ollie, what are you thinking about that game?
I think that game is probably going to be our closest that's coming up this week. I think it's going to be an interesting game. So it's 2 teams that, are sort of like teetering in the middle, right? Their season can go one of 2 ways. They can be the surprise team that comes out here nobody thinks about, and next thing you know, we're in late January and they're playing in the semifinals or the championship game, right? Or it can go really bad and disappointing. So far, they both have been successful. And so I think this is going to be a very fun game to look at, to see what the outcome will be. When you look at it just from the numbers, Scott County scored more against Meridian than Jackson did.
Yeah.
Right? But Jackson held more points off the board. So I don't know, how that's going to translate. Is Jackson's defense too much for Scott County, or is Scott County's offense too much for Jackson? So that's going to be interesting to see, and I'm really excited to see how that one turns out.
Absolutely. So we got a lot of interesting stuff there. 16U as well. So the Flyers, PCA is taking each other on. It's hard to know with 16U because 16U you're dealing with a lot of younger players. And when you're dealing with as many younger players as you do, it's just hard to know what you're going to get with that. So a little bit more unpredictable. We'll be able to see that as the year goes on. Scott County, Jackson will just be 18U. Meridian and Hattiesburg will be 16U as well. So, and PCA and Meridian as well. So now with the 16U, what would be your expectation like? What would be like your look of this year overall? Who do you expect to emerge up top in the 16U field?
Well, I think it's of all the leagues, 16U is the league where you gotta wait and see. All right, let's give this another few weeks to see what teams are going to do. So, Muddy River is one team that I want to see what they're going to do. Are they going to go put all their chips in 18U, or are they going to try to compete like last year? Are they going to try to compete in 18U and 16U? So I think that's a very interesting league to look at. So I cannot call it yet. Can't call it yet, but I feel like if Muddy River decides to compete in 16U, it's theirs. I mean, it just is. I think that they won it one year. They were on the doorstep last year. It's going to be Muddy River is a team that's grown up together.
Yeah.
Right. When you grow up together as a team, like you said, 16U wins will always. I mean, you rarely ever see where they don't.
Yeah.
Translate into 18U wins, right? And we're seeing Muddy River so far is winning in 18U. But I want to see if they're going to still compete in 16U. And, if they do, I've got Muddy River. That's my pick. If they don't, I haven't seen enough. I still haven't. I just can't call it. I think it's wide open if Muddy River and PCA don't. But if Muddy River and PCA compete in the 16U, I think that's pretty much their league. But I will say, us, Laurel, I think we're going to have a surprising 16U group as well. A lot of good players on that 16U team that are trying to get footing in the league, right? I mean, they know they're good. They got to come out. They're going to come out and prove it. And I'm excited to watch those guys. Because I'm not on 16U this year, but it's going to be fun to watch and see how they'll gel together.
Absolutely, and so the one 16U result we did have were the Jackson Victors beat the Meridian Flyers 34-30. It's a close ball game there. So Meridian will be 0-1 taking on these teams in 16U, but very close game there between Jackson and Meridian. But just like you're saying, it's wide open. You don't know what to expect. I know the counselors they have a team that where everybody is 16U except for 3 guys. So they've just got an extensive 16U team. PCA is probably dealing with the same type of thing as well, because a lot of those 16U guys on last year's team are returning to 16U once again. And so I think that'll wrap up our show today. It'll be a little bit, maybe a little bit shorter than some of the other ones, though. We're just starting off. Sorry about some technical difficulties because I know that I might have some audio issues. Going to try to work that stuff out for the next time. But Ollie, man, thank you for co-hosting this show, man. I'm excited about doing it again next week, and hopefully we can continue to progress here.
Yes, sir. I'm excited about this new season.
For sure. And so thank y'all for joining us. I am Trellis Williams. That was Ollie Hammonds with me as well. This is the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show. This is TSJW Network. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, just like I said earlier. Stay tuned with the show live every Wednesday at 5 p.m. If you can tune in live, tune in live. If you can't tune in live, just watch it afterwards. It'll still be up on the YouTube. So also be sure to follow the Instagram at TSJW Network, and that'll give you updates on stuff as well. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Trellis Williams. We out.
Go Nighthawks.